Howdy, howdy, everybody. This is Colin, back at it again with episode 43 of A New Direction, the podcast where I yap and talk about all kinds of different things. Today we're going to be having a bit of a variety episode, as to be expected, I would say. This podcast seems to draw a lot of different topics. This is one I kind of came up with off the cuff, just brainstormed these topics here as I sat here at the computer before recording. So we're gonna have a little fun. We're gonna talk about some food and some musical stuff, and the fact that Christmas is coming. I do plan on dropping something on Christmas Eve, that Tuesday, but we'll see. I don't want to guarantee that, but if not, there will definitely be something on the Thursday following, and we will continue on the upload schedule. So be not concerned about that. But with that being said, we're going to dive into the music recommendation of the episode. This is a great, I guess you would call this an EP, really. It's a 2-song EP. It's titled 3, like the Roman numeral 3, by a band called Hell. This is like a blackened, depressive doom album, and my brother introduced me to them quite a while ago. This is the only work of theirs that I've really listened to, but he was recommending their self-titled release as well, so we'll probably have to give that a listen as well and report back. But I really do think this is a phenomenal album, and it kind of ties in as well to one of the topics later on in the video. But yeah, I mean, this is just a very dense, atmospheric, and very depressive listen. Very vibey, has a dark vibe and ambiance to it. Some spooky songwriting, to be certain. Really melodic and just minor key, which is what I tend to enjoy, especially when it comes to music like this. I think dark metal is kind of interesting. It's what I like to listen to. Maybe that says more about me than anything else, but I just tend to like the really dark ambiance stuff because it's kind of spooky. I think when it comes to the type of metal I listen to, there's a lot of spooky atmosphere and vibe to it. So this is no different. But the songwriting is phenomenal. It's very kind of ambient at times. Just the guitars kind of dueling with one another and doing some harmonies, and it's really spooky. You have kind of build-ups into the more doomy, I burp in like every episode. I do apologize. But you have some build-ups into the more doomy parts, and there's some vocals, some screaming vocals and stuff, and then it kind of mellows back out into the guitar stuff, and it's just really good. Both tracks, there's Mourn and Decidir. I'm probably saying the second track wrong, but they coincide very well together, and I think they together make a great EP. So I would recommend this to anybody who is interested in doom metal or likes darker vibes in their music. It just comes across really well, and I think it sounds phenomenal. But with that being said, let's dive into the meat and potatoes, which is great because we're starting off with favorite foods. This is probably something I've talked about in the past. I know some of the first episodes I did probably talked about food to an extent. But yeah, we're just going to kind of dive in. My tastes have probably changed maybe a little bit in that time. So you'll find that with me, a lot of my favorite foods are sandwiches. The cheesesteak comes to mind. I actually just had one for dinner here. Me and my brother went out to eat at a local restaurant that has a phenomenal cheesesteak. I love them. I'm not a big onion or pepper or mushroom fan, but just a really good cheesesteak with some mayo or a good sauce and perfectly shaved and cooked steak with a bunch of melted cheese. I mean, I don't think you get much better than that, quite frankly. If you had asked me a couple years ago, the cheeseburger would definitely have been my favorite food. And while it is still one of my favorite foods, I think the cheesesteak has taken it over. There's just something so satisfying about a good cheesesteak. And they can be done up in so many different ways. I know the authentic Philly cheesesteak, I think, tends to have cheese whiz on it, which is something I've never tried. I've never had a true authentic Philly-style Philly cheesesteak. I'd love to try it. There's a place in the bigger city nearby to me that sells them that way, so I might have to give it a try if I'm ever up there. I will be up there, and I'll probably end up talking about that later on. Some cool stuff that I've gotten here lately that required me to take a little trip up there. But yeah, I'm a big fan of any beef products, really. Ground beef, be it tacos, meat sauce and pasta, cheesesteaks, cheeseburgers. Funnily enough, I'm not a huge steak fan. I guess I really enjoy the carbs along with my cheesesteak, but or the carbs along with my steak. So a cheesesteak is a great example of that. But I'm a big fan of beef products. I'm just a big meat eater, to be quite honest. I love chicken, pork in the sense of bacon. I don't eat a lot of pork otherwise, but bacon. I like chicken, all kinds of chicken really. And then beef stuff. It's a big part of what I enjoy. But kind of going back to the sandwich topic, I'm a huge fan of subs as well. And I know one of my first episodes I mentioned subs at the place I was working at the time. I don't think I name dropped it. I worked at Publix, so Publix is very well known for their subs. And I still eat them to this day. I will go back into my old job to get a Publix sub at lunch sometimes if I'm really feeling it. They have definitely gone up in price, though. I will say the Publix subs that I remember getting like 5 years ago were much cheaper than they are now. And I mean, obviously, I think that's the case with a lot of things in today's world, but still love them. They're good. There's a couple local sub shops that are excellent that I enjoy getting. You've got chains as well. Not a huge Subway fan, not a big Firehouse guy, just given my tenure there and the things that I saw. So that Firehouse is not really the one for me anymore, but you got Penn Station. Subway is okay, like I said. What else is there? Jersey Mike's is pretty good. Jimmy John's, I'm a big fan of Jimmy John's. So sandwiches, subs, and that kind of thing are just a huge thing for me. I love pizza. Pepperoni pizza most of the time. I like cheese pizza as well. I like bacon on my pizza. But I'm kind of simple when it comes to that stuff. I really like goat cheese on pizza. Big cheese fan, to be quite honest, if you couldn't tell, just given the nature of all of the cheese foods that I've talked about. But yeah, I mean, when it comes down to it, I'm definitely like a cheese or a meat and dairy kind of person. But I mean, as far as like breakfast foods and stuff, I like waffles, pancakes, bacon. I'm coming around to liking scrambled eggs slowly. I've never been a fan of eggs at all. There's actually a fun story behind that, but we'll get into that another time. My mom might take fault or take offense to the way I would tell the story. Pretty much, I had to get the flu vaccine one year. And if you were allergic to eggs, you were unable to get this version of the vaccine. So she made me an egg sandwich and I had to sit and eat the whole thing. And it was, it didn't serve me well at that time. Was not a fan. And I don't falter one bit. I mean, I certainly would not want to have an allergic reaction to such a vaccine, but I don't know. That definitely tarnished eggs for me a little bit, I think. So I'm coming around to it, which is great. Have to have cheese in them, though. But bacon, sausage, pancakes, sweet syrup. I'm a pretty easygoing food person when it comes to breakfast. And then obviously I love sweets, cake, pie, brownies, cookies, anything of that sort. I will eat it right up. Sweets are like my vice. I love candy. And in hearing myself talk about this, I'm realizing that, there's not a lot of good foods health-wise, but, what can I say? I'm a young, early 20s person, so I feel like a lot of times that's just the way it goes. Hopefully it'll come around and maybe I'll start eating like salads and soups and stuff that's a little better for me maybe, but, what can I say? I'm a bit of a hard stickler when it comes to the foods I like. Pasta, I think I mentioned that too, but I love pasta. My girlfriend makes these really good garlic noodles, and they're so good. So yeah, I love pasta. Ramen. Yeah, I mean, I could really go on and on about food if you couldn't tell. It's a big passion of mine. I love to eat, love to try new foods. I'll try anything at least once. So if you have any food recommendations, I would be very interested in seeing what they would be. Would love to try some new stuff. Food's great. You got to eat it to live, and sometimes you either eat to live or you live to eat, or you guess you fall in the middle. So I don't know. Based on what I've talked about, y'all can make your assessment of me. I think it's pretty obvious, but that will kind of conclude our discussion about food as more of a rambling, incoherent babble rather than a discussion. But you know what? That's how it is. I get excited about food. So let's go into something a little bit more controlled that I can give a true discussion about, collecting vinyl. If you see in the background, I have these crates back here in the corner over here. Those are my vinyl crates. I have quite a few vinyl. I got into it. My girlfriend got me a record player last Christmas, and that really got me into collecting vinyl. And I have accrued quite a collection in that time. It's definitely an expensive hobby, but vinyl is such a cool thing. I think that there's a lot to be said about owning your music in a physical, tangible format. And I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, it sounds better because it's physical. I'm not that way. Maybe there is some credibility to that, but I think with the way digital setups, especially having something like what I have with a nice set of headphones and a DAC amp, you can hear every bit of nuance in your music on a digital platform, especially if you're getting like uncompressed files. So I'm not one to necessarily buy into that whole shtick, but I do really enjoy owning vinyl because it's a way to physically interact with your music, and also it supports the bands that you like. I buy all kinds of vinyl, a bunch of different albums and artists and such. I have some really cool ones. I tend to buy more like limited edition stuff, so I've got some, I guess you may call it rare. I don't know if I have some very limited pressings. I have like a 1 of 100, bunch of 1 in 250s, 1 in 500s, but I wouldn't say they're rare in the sense that they're worth anything. But, I like to seek out and get cool pressings, especially when it comes to, the black metal. I have a lot of Mayhem vinyl, and a lot of that is limited edition type stuff. I'm still on the hunt for a first edition to Mr. Reese copy, but they're very expensive, and I have a hard time believing that I'll find one anytime soon. Seems that people tend to hold on to those, but yeah, I think there's something to be said about physically owning your music and being able to interact with it in that way. And plus, vinyl tends to come with a lot of cool additional things. You get posters and booklets and stickers and that kind of thing that really kind of spruces it up and makes it a little more engaging than just streaming it on a streaming platform. And while I don't use stickers or hang up these posters, it's cool to have them, especially for the albums that I do really like a lot. I mentioned in my Exuvia review that I have an Exuvia limited edition pressing of that album, and the discs are cool. They're colored, they're purple, and I might see if I can throw up a picture or something. But they're purple and they look cool. But it come with a poster and a booklet and stuff. It's got a bunch of art in it and the like. It's really cool. So that kind of thing really makes vinyl attractive to me because, like I said, you're getting more than just the music, and you're able to physically interact with it and support the bands you like. So it's cool stuff. I also tend to enjoy going to record stores and trying to find vinyl that way. But I found that my best bet usually is just ordering it from somewhere. A lot of the local record store in my town really has not a lot of options for the style of music that I like, but they have a great collection of vintage vinyl and stuff that is not necessarily up my alley, but it's a cool spot. But there are some record stores up in the bigger city I was mentioning before that have some cool stuff that I've been in and bought stuff and found some cool pressings of albums that are maybe less common. But yeah, I think collecting vinyl is a cool hobby. Like I said, it's an expensive one. It can rack it up in price very quickly, especially when you're paying $30 or $40 a piece. But I guess it's just like anything else. It's like all my guitars, I pay a good bit of money for that stuff, and I collect them, and it's something I'm passionate about, and vinyl's no different. So, yeah, I've got some cool ones. That Hell album that I shouted out at the beginning, I have that on vinyl. I have a colored marble pressing of it. I think I bought the last one that was available, actually. It sold out after I bought it, and I don't think it will ever be pressed again, at least for a while, so that's cool. I've got a very limited edition to Mr. Reese splatter vinyl. I've got Death Crush, a clear version of Death Crush. I could go on and on about it, really, but that Exuvia one is one that really sticks out to me just because of how cool the discs are. And I actually bought it from Ukraine, so I had to wait quite a long time for it to get here because of the active situation going on over there. So, I bought a cool limited edition album from Ukraine, and it shipped here, and it's in great shape, and I'm quite a big fan of it. It's a sweet addition for that album, and I don't actually know if you can get any other pressings of it. So I mean, unless you're finding kind of like what I did, found one. I found it on eBay. Unless you're finding it that way, I don't know how else you would get it at this point. I don't think Exuvia is really being pressed right now. Smaller bands like that, I think, tend to just press stuff as it comes out, and then that's it. So hopefully they might do a reissue of Exuvia that I can pick up. But in the meantime, I do have this copy that I have now. It's cool stuff, but vinyl's sweet. Especially, I like that it's made a comeback here in my generation. It's cool to see younger people being into that kind of thing and keeping it alive. The CD kind of stuff went out, and 8-track and cassette stuff. I mean, cassette stuff is still popular, but I think vinyl, the fact that it's still an important medium in the present day, is awesome. So, yeah, I think that's vinyl. I think it's a fun hobby, and if you've never tried it, you should check it out. It's cool stuff, man. But yeah, that kind of moves us on into the next topic, which is something I've been experimenting with here lately, the baritone guitar. I have a baritone acoustic guitar back here. It's an Alvarez. Incredible guitar, by the way. I think it's their cheapest model. Excuse me. Might be actually one of the cheapest acoustic baritones on the market. It was like $450. And it sounds great. Has a really lush and resonant tone, a lot of harmonic complexity and richness to it that I think suits baritone very well. It really is full-bodied and warm and just sounds really good, especially in such a low tuning. But I've really been experimenting a lot with baritone, and especially since I bought this guitar, it's really been great for my playing. Been very inspiring. Encouraged me to play new styles and new techniques. I've been doing a lot of finger picking on it, which is something I've never really done much of in the past. And it just kind of makes me think about how I play differently. It inspires a different sound, a different type of songwriting. And so I think that's one of the beautiful things about baritone guitar. A lot of country artists use it because of that lower register. It suits a lot of male voices, I think, a little bit better than a standard tune guitar, at least when it comes to country and bluegrass and that kind of thing. But, for me, like, it's great for the kind of ambient music that I write because it's so moody. Baritone, especially being in such a low tuning, I think tends to have a bit of a moody character to it, kind of like I was mentioning in the album recommendation yet again. Just kind of a moody vibe to it, and I think it inspires a different kind of playing, a different way of songwriting, and like I was mentioning with the finger picking stuff, I've been doing a lot of that, and it's cool to create new chords and just try new things and experiment with it because, while you play it the same way as a standard guitar, you don't get the same sound and timbre, and it kind of inspires a different creativity. I've used it quite a bit. I mean, I've been playing a lot. I've written some music on it, and I would hope to use it for the next Buried Asunder album, which will probably be next year, but hard to say. Haven't even got the first one out yet because I've been too lazy to write the lyrics. Hopefully going to do that over the Christmas break here. But it's hard. I'm not a lyric writer for sure. Certainly not a poet, and certainly not a lyricist. But as far as the baritone guitar is concerned, I think it would have a great spot in Buried Asunder. I think it would suit some of the vibes and ideas that I'm wanting to shoot for this next release, kind of taking some Exuvia inspiration and trying to do something a little bit unique there and draw upon that as inspiration a lot more, and just create something cool. I love all the different sounds in Exuvia, and I think Buried Asunder would be able to do that as well. And baritone guitar is perfect for that, I think. Like I was mentioning, the moodiness, the character, the richness of the tone and the timbre and the warmth, especially with this baritone acoustic guitar. If I mic that up and play some finger style stuff for it, that'd be sweet. And in mentioning that, I was talking about this earlier, but I actually bought an old violin here a couple weekends ago, not last weekend, but the weekend before. It's from 1897. I bought it at a local music shop that deals with pre-owned, used kind of stuff. It's almost like a thrift store for music. But yeah, they had it. It come in an old coffin case. I believe the case is much older than the violin, I think. But I took it up to the big city I was mentioning to have it worked on and repaired. It needed a little TLC to make it playable again, and they're doing that for me. And violin's great. It's such a beautiful instrument, has such a cool and vibe, and can also kind of inspire that spooky sound that I was mentioning. So I hope to use that with the buried asunder stuff as well, in tandem with the baritone guitar. I think those two instruments can kind of clash and also work together harmoniously to create something unique and cool. So I do hope to bring the baritone guitar into my music songwriting in a more official way. And in saying that, it's also inspired me to expand my theory knowledge a little bit as well. Been learning about modes and stuff, which if you've never been into music or music theory, it's probably going to sound like I'm speaking a different language right now. I am by no means a music theory expert, and I have a lot of knowledge that I should have that I don't. But I've been experimenting with modes. I've been doing Mixolydian and Aeolian and Phrygian dominant, and trying to incorporate that into my playing a little bit, because those scales and sounds really open up the fretboard, I think, in a way that inspires creativity and allows you to really know more about what you're playing. It's like the language of music in a sense. And so utilizing those modes, I think it's made me a better guitar player. Definitely in tandem with the baritone guitar has inspired me to play in a different way. And I feel like I've improved. I feel like there's a lot of progress there, and I've improved quite a bit. And it's been a lot of fun to see myself progress in a way that I can actually see or hear. I feel like a lot of times with guitar, you kind of get stuck in a rut where you feel like you're not progressing at all and stuff's not going right, and you really don't know what you're doing or if you're getting better and if things are working. And then, you have moments like this where you're like, wow, like I'm actually doing something really cool here and it's working. And I can tangibly hear the difference. So yeah, baritone guitar. If you've never played one, buy one, or at least try one. I think it definitely inspires, like I was saying, a different side of you to try some new sounds and music and be more creative in what you're playing. So I highly recommend the baritone, definitely. The Alvarez is a great option. Squire also has electric baritones. I actually have one. I have the old Paranormal Telecaster baritone. It was a part of their Paranormal series that I don't know if they still do anymore. But it's a sweet guitar as well. Sounds good. I'm not a huge fan of the neck on it. I'm not a big fan of gloss necks. I like satin necks, and it has a real thick, like gummy gloss neck on it that I'm not a big fan of, but it sounds good. It plays nicely, and it's comfortable. I think the Alvarez is a better baritone as far as the price is concerned. I think they're very similar in price, or at least they were when the Squire was on sale from like retailers. But yeah, check out a baritone. That's really the moral of the story. But with that being said, it's going to carry us into our last topic here. I'm going to talk about Christmas. Christmas is right around the corner. It's a week from today, I believe. And so I just want to talk a little bit about Christmas and why it's cool and important and that kind of thing. Yeah, I think that Christmas has been a staple in my family since I was a child. We've always gone to my grandparents' house and done it and had gifts and stuff like that. And even as I've gotten older, I mean, that's still been a tradition that we carry on, even though the gift side has become a little bit less important. I usually just end up getting money because that's what I like to do, and I can save that or spend it on something that I'm interested in. But I do like the gift giving part, and especially like with my girlfriend, we buy gifts and wrap them and exchange them and stuff, and it's great. Christmas is a big thing about getting together with your loved ones and sharing fun memories and just being with family. I think that's a very important thing, and I think Christmas is a great way to do that. It brings people together. I think that, especially in modern world where people are so divided now, I think Christmas is a great way that we can all kind of unite and be with family, with loved ones, and collectively just share the joy of the season. And also, it's wintertime. I love the winter, and I mentioned that in one of the previous episodes, but I'm a huge winter fanatic, and so for me, Christmas goes hand in hand with that. The snow. I mean, we don't get snow where I live, but the snow and the just the cold and the vibe of it. I think Christmas is very suited for wintertime, as it has been for many, many, many years, hundreds, thousands of years, or however long. But it's great. I think Christmas is a great thing. And also, shout out my dad. Christmas Day is my dad's birthday, which is kind of wild. Out of all the days of the year to be born on Christmas Day, he was a gift. He was a gift to the world. And so, that kind of thing's cool. I think Christmas is a wonderful holiday, and it's right after Thanksgiving. It leads us into New Year's, and kind of is the capstone, I would say, of winter. Christmas is something that everybody kind of looks forward to, I think, and like I was mentioning, it brings your family together and allows you to, be in the company of your loved ones. So Christmas is great. Recommend it 100%. It's interesting, I think, to see how my perspective of Christmas has changed as I've gotten older. When I was a kid, like, it was a super big deal, and like it felt like the year moved by so slow. And when it was Christmas time, like, it's like, yes, it's finally here. And you get cool gifts and stuff and unwrap. And I believed in Santa Claus. I'd leave out cookies and stuff, which, to my parents who are watching this, I hope y'all enjoyed those cookies and that milk, because I would leave it out every year. And I mean, I was wholeheartedly into the Santa thing. Maybe it's a conspiracy theory. Maybe Santa Claus is real, but I really bought like hook, line, and sinker into that, and that was a big part of Christmas for me, and all the gifts and just fun times. And now, as I've gotten older, I more value the relationship part of it, where it's you're with your family or with your loved ones, and you're getting to share the joy of the season and just be together. I think that's a very important thing, and so. Yeah, Christmas is sweet. I love buying gifts, although I'm not great at it. I'm a good gift giver in the sense that I feel like what I do buy, is I feel like I make good choices, but I do have trouble with it. I kind of debate, like, what do I get? Who does this go to? I really do put a lot of thought and effort into that, and usually I end up buying gift cards or something like that because I don't want to make the choice of what to buy and let the person have the power to do that. But yeah, Christmas is great. I think that kind of sums up my thoughts about Christmas and also sums up this episode. That was the 4 topics. I feel like this one went by really fast. But yeah, episode 43, getting closer to 50. Have to do a big 50, episode 50 milestone marker there. But with that being said, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, comment, subscribe, drive my engagement, and see if we can get a community going here. I mean, obviously we have a community, but let's see if we can get some new people in and share the Christmas spirits, 100 subscribers would be a great Christmas present. I'm just saying. But in all seriousness, I appreciate all of y'all for watching and supporting what I do. And yeah, I think that sums up episode 43 of A New Direction. So I will see y'all next week. Hope you have a great holiday, and take it easy, man. Peace.